Night and day I catching hell. People think I'm doing well just because I sing a few calypso. But that is my misery. Calypso don't make money, but most of them don't know that I have my axe to grind, just like any other man, existing in poverty and this giant ghetto land. But I intend to hang on. Tell them for me no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice. I ain't gonna grow old sitting in the cold, not me. No way, they go have to beat me. They go have to eat me, or the heads go roll. Tell them I say I was born in this land, I go die in this land. Nobody go run me from where me come from. Nobody go run me, lad. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Me mama must yam. Me papa must yam. Me woman must yam. Me pickle must yam. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me, lad. Nobody go run me. Life ain't much for us to choose. Some we win and some we lose. But sometimes life is so confusing. I had a lot of friends one time whom I used to wine and dine and gave them bread when they need it. Now most of them against me, take me, make the enemy, simply because I am not what they all want me to be. And with the political views I can't agree, but tell them for me no dice. I ain't gonna eat lice, I ain't gonna grow old sitting in the cold, not me algae. No way, they go have to beat me, they go have to eat me, or the heads go roll. Tell them I say I was born in this land, I go die in this land. Nobody go run me from where me come from. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Nobody go run me. Me mama must yam. Me papa must yam. Me woman must yam. Me pickney must yam.
Welcome to Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Andrew. Always throw me off with that. Anyway, let's begin. What's happening on the lovely island of St. Martin? We begin, of course, with Parliament. The brangadang that took place in Parliament, the monument, and of course, we're not talking about the politicians because I think we should put them on a monument list because they're national treasures. Yeah. Thank you, Pete. Of course, let's talk about the ruins of the Diamond Estate. The continuation of the Parliament meeting took place on Thursday, and it was spectacular. Why? Because people pot get boss. Remember when I told you that we were trying to find out who was the culprit behind the actual ruins being destroyed? Well, the Minister of Romy came out and he just read out the answers like nobody's business. He was like, this is the name of the construction company. This is when it was done. It was transparency. Like, I was like, is really an election year? They're telling the truth now? What's happening? Anyway, let me give you the highlight first of Minister of Romy, Egbert Duran.
Who gave the orders to the persons who own the machines? Based on a preliminary research and reports, the person that allegedly did the work is another person, then the company is Taliesin Construction. Move on. What are the procedures for listing who is responsible on a deed at the cadastre? The cadastre is a public registry, and the registry is based on the deed of properties. The registry reflects legal owner, entitled persons, and or properties in question. Move on to questions posed by MP Westcott Williams. What is the status of the 1950 Simpson Bay Bridge? The Simpson Bay Bridge is a protected monument registered under number S013. A copy of the registration was provided to Parliament. What is the status of the Simpson Bay Cistern? The cistern in Simpson Bay is a government-protected monument registered under S009. A copy was also provided. What is government position on the Foga Salt Factory? The salt factory at Foga is a protected monument registered under B020. A copy of the register is provided to Parliament. We would like to see this monument restored to its former glory. However, significant funds will be required for this. A possibility is for the Monument Fund to play a role by aiding the funding for this restoration. What is the procedure of obtaining a building permit and the policy applied against the permit? This was in reference to the hillside policy. When a building permit has been requested, the process is evaluated, the permit against the applicable policies. That takes place. A review of the submitted drawings and/or information compared to the requirements of the policies, such as the hillside policy, the beach, the coastline policy, the parking policy, form part of the review for compliance. And this will determine whether the permit is advised positively or negatively upon. How many large projects are currently under review? It's difficult to say what the MP considers a large project. However, based on the question, I could say roughly 4 large projects on St. Martin. Has the Nature Environment Plan been sent to Parliament for approval? This policy was placed on public review and thereafter approved and established by the ministry. As it not customary for policies to be approved by Parliament, only legislation, it was not sent to Parliament for approval.
Okay, let's continue the meeting because the minister that is not really liked right now by the National Alliance, but they have to deal with him because they can't fire him because it's an election year, is the man that I have to rename to the minister of I don't give a basically. The reason why I say that is because the man came out swinging at the parliamentary meeting whereby he basically threw the government under the bus by answering also truthfully. Like, what is going on? Everybody's answering truthfully? What? Anyway, he gave some interesting information during the meeting, so let's go to that.
Exactly what is considered a monument? There are various definitions of monuments. These are derived from the Monument Ordinance, relevant decrees, as well as Maritime Ordinance. The definitions are as follows. Monuments, movable and immovable property, which have been manufactured for at least 50 years and are of general interest because of their beauty, their aesthetic value, their significance for science, the history of the country, or their folkloric value, including archaeological heritage. Town and villas views are also considered according to the definitions. Protected monuments under the definition are monuments registered in the registers established or pursuant to the monuments decree. Then you have protected landscape and villascapes. These are townscapes and villascapes that are registered in the register established by or pursuant to the monument decree. And then you have archaeological heritage, which are structures, objects, or remains that independently or collectively, whether or not in the context of the site, indicate human activity that took place in the past, but in any case, more than 50 years ago. Then you have underwater cultural archaeological heritage is considered to be all traces of human existence having a cultural, historical, or archaeological character, which have been partially or totally underwater, periodically or continuously for at least 50 years, such as sites, structures, building, artifacts, and human remains, together with their archaeological and natural context, vessels, aircrafts, other vehicles, or any other part thereof, and also objects of prehistoric character. The following question: how many registered monuments are there on the books at the Monument Council? As mentioned before, there are 50 registered protected monuments. This list is also provided in the attachments of the documents. So you would see all the 15 monuments listed there. The following question, is the courthouse a monument? And if yes, for how long have they been a monument? The courthouse is a protected monument and has been so since 2008. What type of work on the monument requires a permit or a building permit? All of the required permits which can be needed to do work on a monument. The following works require a monument permit: to break down or move, to destroy or damage, to change in any way, to repair, use, or allow to be used in a way that mars or endangers it. It is prohibited to carry out excavation work or to have it carried out for the purpose of detecting or investigating monuments without a permit from the minister or in violation of the conditions to be set with such a permit. Fines during excavations or excavations being movable monuments, which I read before, or at least objects that the finder should reasonably suspect should be regarded as such, will be notified to the minister within 3 days, either by the finder or by the person executing the excavation work or his deputy. Do you have a monument permit or weather permit for the work being carried out now at the courthouse? The courthouse received a permit in 2021 to carry out repairs in the interior of the monument and doors and windows. However, the courthouse did submit a request for a monument permit in phase 2 in October 2021, and this was now granted on February 2024. I must explain here that indeed I must explain, so I would repeat. The courthouse received a monument permit in 2021 to carry out repairs to the interior of the monument and the doors and the windows. However, the courthouse did submit a request for a monument permit for phase 2 in October 2021, and this was now granted on February 24, 2023. I must explain here that during the meeting, it was asked if the courthouse had a monument permit. And because of the transactions that was going on and the busyness, it was explained that the permit was in process. And that is a permit that was issued on the 24th of February, 2023. There have been some developments since then, and as late as yesterday and today, and those developments are that the monument permit that was issued to the courthouse for the renovations, which they requested in 2021, that monument permit was violated, meaning that work that was requested to be done with the monument permit for phase 2, other work was done. And one of the things that was done recently is that a window was made in a door at the back of the courthouse on top. I went to see it myself, and the permit issued to the court on February 24th, 2022 did not permit this, and in the request for phase 2, that was not also mentioned. So today, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports have issued a building stop to the courthouse to get an assessment as to what is going on, and then we can see how we move forward with the project. Question 6, does the government have an estimated value of all the monuments on St. Martin? No, the government does not have an estimated value on all monuments of St. Martin.
Okay, so there you heard it. The justice, and I should say the Hof of Justice, Hof of Justitie, which is the court of first instance management, apparently have been doing illegal stuff. Judges doing illegal stuff? What? In St. Martin? Is it a real place? You see why I made a shirt? Anyway, the courthouse, as you heard from the minister, basically was operating, renovating without a permit because they're gangsters. They're just gangsters. And if I can just answer the question of MP Savage Chris when he asked who built the courthouse, they were slaves. St. Martin slaves built the courthouse. The Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Rudolph Samuel, was nice to say that it was designed by Captain XYZ and commissioned by, the Dutch, this and no. It was St. Martin slaves that were not paid, created, built the courthouse. Let me just say it out loud and proud. Yeah? Good. Let's continue. The meeting then took a complete right or left, because after we found out that Taliesin Construction was responsible for the deconstruction of our ruins, shame on you, by the way, Taliesin Construction, whoever you are. How is it that you just decided to wake up and bulldoze a national treasure? You were probably paid. But the question is, paid by who? Because I remember a show 2 weeks ago when this meeting took place, and everybody didn't want to say nothing about it, but everybody knew it was Andy Westcott, which is Sarah Westcott's son, but everybody was so quiet to say it, so nobody said it, and I was like, Andy Westcott! Andy Westcott! It was Andy Westcott! And everybody was like, the person, and the person responsible, and the responsible person. And I was like, but just say it with your chest. Andy Westcott. Say it. So during the meeting, Auntie Sarah had to leave. She was like, I got something important to do. I'll check you by the next meeting. Check you for the budget meeting next week. When St. Martin people forget about this meeting. And everybody was like, Sarah, really? Like, we know it's your son. Let me just say it out loud. So everybody continued to touch a little bit about it and say, oh, it's wrong, that took place and it shouldn't happen again. But the question is, what will Parliament do about it? Well, MP Bryson came with a motion last minute, and he didn't have the support of the coalition because, of course, MP Arinella, MP Brownbill didn't report to work because there was like monument. What does that even mean? Why go? So they didn't go to the meeting, so he didn't have the full support of the coalition, so he left it in the hands of, the opposing parties to see whether they will get support in Parliament. This is a motion that was presented by MP Bryson.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'm interested in regenerating today is the damage that was done to Diamond Estate. Let him start there. Because I asked the question very specifically, not who did the work, but you know what is interesting about that? This individual, he gonna talk. And he will say who gave the order. It just needs to be investigated. There's someone that owns that property. There's someone that has power of attorney over it and gave the order to do it. And Minister is taking your time, but I think the Parliament needs to make a statement as well about this. Because we could protect every monument we want, list them as protected monuments. But if in the hidden of the night, we as Parliament allow that it's okay and it goes unaddressed, that somebody can just go and knock down a monument like this of such significance and importance to our people in the night. Mr. Chairman, it's not something that we should tolerate. A statement needs to be made, and I would look to propose such a statement by means of a motion, Mr. Chairman. Because, again, we have this meeting, and then what happens? This is what they're hoping for, because this is what used to always happen. They do something, they get away with it, and they count on the forgetfulness of our people to not remember the bad that they have done. They are counting on it today again. This is the mantra of the Democratic Party. But we cannot let what happened at Diamond Estate continue with that again. Because there's reasons why we are left in 2010 from there. Mr. Chairman, I would like to read a motion I would like to present today. In its meeting of March 9, 2023, the Parliament of St. Martin, considering the demolition of the building known as Diamond Estate and its historical significance, that the Monument Council has expressed, quote, profound sadness and anger regarding its demolition and, quote, property may be private, but that does not give persons the right to devalue property in the pursuit of their own interest. That the Monument Council also stated, and I quote, as a way forward, the Department of Culture, in consultation with the Monument Council, will issue an advisory document to undertake a survey of the property to determine the full historical scope of the site and the ruins that remain present. That pursuant to the relevant national ordinances, the government could have legal recourse to restore the monument to as close as possible to its original state, as is the stated wish of the Department of Culture and the Monument Council, and the sentiment of many of our citizens. That the land on which Diamond Estate is has an owner and a person who has power of attorney over that property. Resolves for the government of St. Martin to expedite the Department of Culture and the Monument Council's efforts to determine the historical significance of the remaining rubble, which could lead to the area and remaining rubble being placed on the protected monument list. For the government, in the context of being able to establish violations to both the monument and spatial planning ordinances, investigate who the ultimate offenders are in the demolition of Diamond Estate in order to restore the monument based on the ruins that remain present as recommended by the Monument Council. And that if offenses and the offenders have been established in accordance with the penal provisions of the monument and spatial planning ordinances, legal action is taken necessary to rebuild the Diamond Estate at the expense of those who are responsible of the demolition of the monument in the first place, and to report back to the Parliament within 3 months on the actions taken in regards to these resolutions. And goes over to the order of the day. This is co-signed by MPs George Pantaflet, myself, MP Bryson, and MP Hyacinth Richardson. Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping that with everything I've heard from everyone in this meeting, that this would get the support of members of Parliament. It is simply asking the ministers to use what is at their disposal to find out what took place and who is responsible, and do what the Monument Council and the culture and the people of St. Martin are asking. Build it back, restore it to as close as we can, because that will also be a message psychologically for our people, that you can't just break us down. We are resilient in every sense of the word. Therefore, if we are resilient, so should our heritage, so should our history, so should be our people. But the symbol of passing that every day and seeing that rubble is one of the most demotivating things I have to pass through every day when I go home from work.
So now, the question is, we have to put our money where our mouth is, the voting. Let's go down to the voting. Who would vote for this investigation to take place? Or who will be like, because it's MP Bryson, nah, I ain't voting for it. I got to go and do something. The motivations were classic, so I'm going to give you the highlight of every motivation and also the voting that actually took place in Parliament. Take a look.
Well, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to motivate my vote as much as I can support this motion. I would love to see the Diamond Estate rebuilt. I would love to know more about the demolition of it and why it happened and the reasons for it happened. But I don't have much faith in this government doing it, Mr. Chairman. If you have a minister sitting here and can't even tell you who built the courthouse, I probably should have asked him who he think built the courthouse. Probably then he would have said slaves. But he sits here and he says he don't know, but knows who commissioned it. It blows my mind. I just wanted to motivate my vote on this because, again, I think, yes, monuments should be protected. It will get my support with a lot of reservations. Mr. Chairman, I would like the presenter of the motion to know that because the motion came in the last shower of the rain. It wasn't presented to my person to review it. However, like I said, in principle, I can support this motion. But to have faith in the government carrying it out and seeing these things done, I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't see it happening at all. I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. The next person is MP Melissa Gums.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I too will support this motion. I share its sentiment, and I slightly, doubt but hope still that it is executable by the government because it does say a lot for writing the course that the country has been going. To be true, Mr. Chairman, the Diamond Estate ruins are not the only ones that have been destroyed in the sake of development on this island. Slave walls in Kupukoi, slave walls all over this island have been destroyed for the sake of development, but I truly hope that that will soon come to a stop. There's a lot of history in this country pre-10-10-10, but there's a lot of history post-10-10-10 as well as to who will have to bear the blame for how we got here and how we seem to keep staying here. Either way, the motion will have my support, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Gums. The next person I see is MP Ludmila De Wever.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reading this initially, I had a little bit of reservations because of the fact that I needed a little bit of legal advice, as well as the fact that this was sort of trying to take action after the fact that something was already destroyed. But then, after the amendments and then having a discussion, you see that even though this is about one specific instance, it is opening the doors to further improvements and further corrections and further protection of whether you want to call it our heritage, our environment, our society. And the reason that I am going to support this is because it's shoving the responsible parties, giving them a little bit of a push to go around and make sure that they protect our heritage. It also, in saying that, actually, what I do want to say is it's a step in the right direction of what I want to see when I expect the same for protecting our beach, just like Mulla Bay. I expect the same for protecting our waters, like Little Bay Pond, that has been destroyed by sewage and potential filling in of another development. And I also hope that it will also be protecting areas or stuff like the mangroves by Prince Bernard Bridge. So with that being said, I will support this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MP De Wever. The next person is MP Grisha Halliger Martin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to everyone. This motion, it has my support, first and foremost. It has my support because for once we can now say that we have something in place to preserve our monuments. But I'm also, I do have a few reservations. I would ask the MP that tabled the motion to at least have a little legal advice on it. But you know something? I'm not sure if the government will be able to execute what is being instructed here, but we'll wait and see. I look forward to having, a report, an update from them 3 months from now. But important is that whoever it was that demolished the ruins without permission should be fined. That's the regular thing. It should be fined. The usual fine should take place. It was, as the minister stated, no permit was given out, so of course they should be fined. So I'll await the minister's investigation on that, and I'll support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin. The next person I have is MP Solange Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too will be supporting the motion. But what I must say is that on the other end of this motion are civil servants that need to carry out the work. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a capacity crisis. But we do have resources. I have seen ministers in this government be very creative with budget. So if there is a need for capacity to support those on the ground, I really hope that the government can give them the support that they need. Yeah. So I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Duncan. The next person I have is MP Rolando Bryson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first, of course I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would again like to reiterate and summarize my motivation for having presented this motion. Like I said, it's good, I think, at this point for the Parliament to take certain stances on these things. I'll be very clear. If I have a friend or a family member or anyone that did something wrong in the past or do something today, I will acknowledge. I will be here to vote on such a motion with them, because wrong is wrong. And the people that know me, the people that I interact with, unlike those that allow their own family members and friends to get away with anything and not call them out on it, that's the reason why I went through what I went through in the last 3 years. Because so-called friends, so-called party members don't like to be called out on their wrongdoing. I will do so. But Mr. Chairman, I think this motion, if it is the mention of what happened in the past with slave wars, yeah, that's wrong. And if there's a retroactive thing that has to be done to deal with that, well, bring it. Let's address all these things. Let's address all the ills of the past. But most importantly, what I like is that this allows the government sitting there to create a precedent going forward as well. Mr. Chairman, I also wanted to point out that the recommendations of the Monument Council that are stated in these considerations, this was something that came out as a press release, and I took it very serious. However, in order to complete the motion, I needed the answers from the ministers in the first round in order to create the motion. And as members of Parliament know, if I have a motion fully created before the discourse, I would be happy to share it with the members of Parliament. However, based on the answers that I received today, was when I knew, okay, this is going in the right direction. Based on the answers received, I then type it and send it to other members of Parliament. So to my colleague, Emmanuel, you will always have my motions as long as possible. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the fact that we have this motion here and will be voting for, of course.
Thank you, MP Bryson. The next person is MP George. MP George, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have come to this point, and like the speakers before me, definitely, Mr. Chairman, I will be supporting this motion. Again, the onus now is on the sitting government to ensure that the sins of the past are not repeated and ensure that we protect the future of our citizens of this country. And as the motion stated, within 90 days, they should return to Parliament. And we do hold them to this 90 days, Mr. Chairman, because it cannot be that a motion is passed and then it dies a natural death. It has happened too much in the past when motions have been passed and then you hear nothing about it. And I believe this is a very, very important motion as those that have been passed in this Parliament. I look forward to a report from the government as soon as they have accomplished this task. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP George. The next person I see is MP Angelique Rumu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to extend my support to this motion. But besides supporting the motion, I look to the minister sitting in front of me, and I would like to challenge you to indeed make sure that within 3 months, there is an answer and there's a way moving forward with this motion. Because just like my colleague MP Pontiflet said, we have seen so many motions being passed in Parliament and nothing coming out of it. And I cannot sit here today and believe that you would allow this to happen to such a very important motion that talks about and reflects on our cultural heritage and the protection thereof. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, MP Angelique Rumo. We now go over to the voting, and we start with the number 1. Number 9.
MP Rayon Peterson, MP Hyacinth Richardson,
4.
MP Angelique Rumu,
For.
MP Ludmila De Weaver,
4.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams, MP Rolando Bryson,
4.
MP Solange Duncan,
4.
MP Christophe Emmanuel,
4.
MP Melissa Gums, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin,
4.
MP William Marlin, MP George Pontiflet,
4.
Chairman Sidhad Bijlani,
4. Motion number 1 is accepted with 410 and against 0.
So you see, you're getting your play-by-play. So now, Grisha Heiliger Martin of the Democratic Party voted for Rolando Bryson's motion. And I don't know whether I should be proud or disappointed. And this is why. She's part of the Democratic Party, which is the leader is Sarah Westcott Williams. So in fact, she's supposed to be a member of the DP and not vote for it, or either leave like a coward like Sarah did, or she could stay and say, you know what, against, and say, oh, well, she wouldn't be able to justify it, but just say against because it's her party leader's son. Or she could just vote her conscience and say, you know, she's supporting this particular motion because, yes, even if it's the party leader's son, he should be investigated for this situation that took place at Diamond Estate. So you see why I say I don't know whether to be proud or disappointed, but at the same time, you don't know because it's Grisha Heiliger Martin. She could wake up tomorrow and decide to leave and join PFP too. Stranger things have happened. In any case, the motion was passed. As you can see, 10 members of parliament voted for, so it was unanimous. Nobody voted against. And those who weren't there, shame on you. Shame on you. We noticed Akeem Arinel, Chanel Brownbill, Rayon Peterson, at least show up for those days of work, man. Jesus Christ. Of course, they all had things to do. They had things to do. Like, what is better to do than your job that we pay you too much for? I tell you already now, let's give every parliamentarian minimum wage. You're going to see the whole constellation of that place change. Yeah. In any case, that was your highlight of the meeting that took place on Thursday. So now the ministers have to go and do some more digging and hope that something like this doesn't happen again. Of course, for the people that voted for the motion and actually doing something about it, I must say kudos because, again, you actually put pen to paper and put your money where your mouth is and actually say this is wrong that took place and therefore it's wrong. Basically, shame on you. Tallison Construction and Andy Westcott Real Estate Company. Let's just say it with our chest. Let me stop doing this whole hiding thing like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Anyway, you can send me the cease and desist letter. I got a lot of those. I put it in my toilet. Welcome to the Late Night Show. We have a good one for you. And of course, let's begin.
So, season 2 is coming out tonight. Why are we watching the TV show? You don't want to activate Tell TV Plus for a whole month just for one night.
You know Tell 'em has a new app with one-day access to Tell TV Plus, right? The My Tell 'em app.
You lie!
Where you think you going?
Well, I need to activate my data plan to watch the show on Tell TV Plus tonight.
You know Tell 'em has an app with all those features, right? The My Tell 'em app?
You lie! Does everybody know this but me?
Character SXM, Addictive Sundays, Mr. T and Friends. Character SXM, Addictive Sundays, Mr. T and Friends.
Trouble, yeah, you know.
Everybody want party. What is this? Gal nasty. Push to the edge. You only get one chance. Any people them fit. Somebody say rain falling. All the girl them wet. Watch the body go. Bum 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 bum. Technique fling it up and down go. Bum 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 bum. Technique make the man them dumb. Take like snicker, stripe like tigger. Pull them trigger them.